of the sophomores came and gave me the game ball, which was pretty special. And, wrote down the stat line, probably going to give it to my dad when I get back home.
Welcome to episode 322 of Alberta Dugout Stories, the podcast. I'm Joe McFarland. We have a trio of U.S. college freshmen joining us to talk about their respective journeys from Alberta to their new schools. But first, the news headlines, and we'll start in the big leagues, where Calgary's Michael Soroka has impressed once again. Getting the start for Washington last Thursday, he went 4 innings, allowing 1 run on 4 hits with no walks and 6 strikeouts to pick up the win in a 12-1 drubbing of St. Louis. His next spring training start is scheduled for Sunday. Dawgs Academy and Okotoks Dawgs alum Tristan Peters is still swinging a hot stick with the Tampa Bay Rays. He's now hitting .368 with a home run, an RBI, and 3 runs scored in 9 games. And Vauxhall Academy grad Damiano Palmigiani has finally made his 2025 spring training debut with the Toronto Blue Jays, and it's gone very well in his spot appearances. He has 2 hits and 5 at-bats, including a double, and then this over the weekend.
New pitcher for the Rays is the lefty Jake Brentz. His offering is crushed way out to left field and way gone out of the confines of the ballpark. It's a home run for Palmigiani. Wasted no time getting on that pitch and clubbed it out to left. It's a 3rd home run for the Blue Jays today, and it's now 12-6 Toronto.
The estimated distance on that one, 491 feet, an absolute bomb. Now, it hasn't been all good news Alberta-wise lately. AHP and Edmonton Prospects alum Eric Sabrowski is out with left elbow inflammation and might start the season on the IL with the Cleveland Guardians. Former Okotoks Dawgs hurler Andrew Kittredge has undergone an MRI on his left knee, and he'll likely start the season on the IL as well with the Baltimore Orioles. And the timeline is still kind of foggy on Vauxhall Academy product Adam Mako, as he has a meniscus tear in his left knee. He's undergone surgery and will miss the start of the year with the Blue Jays. And finally, the MLB spring breakout begins today, being Thursday if you listen to this show when it first comes out. The 4-day event showcases the best prospects in the majors, and this year's edition features 2 Albertans and 3 others with ties to the province. Congratulations to Eric Hartman and Nathan Flewelling, as well as Matt Wilkinson, Jacob Melton, and Shea Shanneman for cracking their respective team rosters. On to other baseball news now. We'll go to the college ranks with our weekly 5 top highlights. AHP Academy alum Owen Pote had a great performance with Pratt Community College this past week, allowing 3 runs on 2 hits with 2 walks and 5 strikeouts in a 17-4 romp over Seward County. Weber Academy alum Cole McKinnon came in from the bullpen with Big Bend College over the weekend to allow 1 run on 5 hits and a walk with 4 strikeouts in a 6-4 victory over Walla Walla. Parkland Twins product Hudson Hoy had 8 hits, including 3 home runs, to go along with 8 RBI and a stolen base over the weekend for Northeastern Junior College. Friend of the show, Jaden Babiak, had a great weekend as well with Valley City State University, pounding out 13 hits, 4 RBI, and 2 stolen bases. And Vauxhall grad and Mr. Sylvan Lake himself, Tyler Boudreau, had an excellent start with the Texas Tech Red Raiders, picking up his first victory with a scoreless 6 innings of ball, allowing just 2 hits, a walk, and 9 strikeouts. On to this week's guests, and we'll start with AHP Academy alum Ryan Kwasnycia. The Stony Plain native made a big first impression with Pratt Community College, coming in out of the bullpen on February 1st against Allen County. He went 3 innings, allowing no runs on 2 hits and 5 walks, while striking out 2 in a 9-6 victory. Unfortunately, the 6-foot, 175-pound right-hander is nursing an injury right now, but he's hoping to get back to it very soon.
Ryan, thanks so much for joining us here on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Fresh off your first college appearance, 3 innings of shutout ball against Allen County. You end up getting the win in that one. Looking back on it, how'd you feel about your performance?
I thought it was definitely a good step, a good first college appearance. Obviously, like to limit the walks. Other than that, I was pretty happy with it for the most part.
Good stuff. Did you get a bit of the butterflies when they called down to the pen and said, "Hey, Ryan, get ready"?
Yeah, definitely. I think I speak for a lot of college pitchers when they're making their debut. It's definitely a little nerve-wracking for sure.
In the moment, do you take that time just for a second to soak it in and go, "Hey, I've taken that next step"?
Yeah, definitely. is obviously a big moment in the game, close game. Really needed a W, and I trust myself that I can execute pitches in big moments, and when things started to get away from me at times, just being able to step off, take a deep breath, and reset, and just really emphasize the trust I have in myself in executing pitches. I think that was the biggest thing. And just, before I left for school, I spoke with Taylor back home, and he told me not to wait to find out if you're going to be good. Just go in and be good. So that's kind of what I was thinking about on the mound there.
Very cool. In the moment after the fact, did you take away any souvenirs? I'm always curious about that. Like, do you kind of keep a hat or a ball or something just to be like, yeah, that was my first college appearance, or anything like that?
Yeah, my one of the sophomores came and gave me the game ball, which was pretty special, and wrote down the stat line. Probably gonna give it to my dad when I get back home.
That is awesome. Looking ahead, do you see yourself sticking in the pen for now, or would you like to be a starter at some point?
Obviously, I'd like to be an innings eater for the team. I think that's a role that gets you kind of to the next level, which is obviously where I want to be. But the biggest thing is obviously being healthy and being able to compete.
You and I were talking off air about the transition from high school to college, and obviously you had the fall term to wrap your head around things. What are you learning about yourself as a student and as a pitcher as you go through your freshman campaign here?
I guess I realize that it's obviously a pretty big change going from high school to college, but it's still the game of baseball, and it's still the game I've been playing for years, and I think a lot of people get their heads so wrapped around stats and all of this stuff, and at the end of the day, you're just playing a game. So I think just trying to go out there and have fun, and just play baseball is kind of becoming even more important to me now. Mm-hmm.
Stats aside, do you have any expectations or goals of yourself heading into this season and as the season progresses?
I mean, I don't have any exact numbers, but I've seen, guys from the area come down and have a lot of success, and I've seen what some of the guys have done, and so I have sort of an idea of what I'd like to achieve, but I think the biggest thing for sure is innings, pitching a lot of innings for sure. Mm-hmm.
What kinds of things are you working on? Because I know, especially as you're trying to get over that learning experience piece, but you figure out pretty quickly that it's a little bit about the process too. What kinds of things are you working on in your process to make sure that you can set yourself up for the next step, wherever that might take you?
Yeah, for sure. I think the biggest thing is just executing pitches. Like, I've always been a guy that's had a pretty decent fastball and a good changeup, and so just being able to get ahead of hitters and constantly attack has been kind of the main goal for this season for me.
Good stuff. Let's get into your baseball past here a little bit, Ryan. You're originally from Stony Plain. How did you get into ball in the first place?
It's funny you asked. Actually, I had a really good friend back home introduced me to the game, and he'll never live it down, because obviously I'm playing college baseball now, and back then it was just find something for the summer instead of playing hockey. So
Who's the friend?
His name's Anson Sanders, so I'll give him a shout out.
Absolutely. Got to give credit where credit is due, for sure. You mentioned hockey. Were there other sports involved, or was it mostly all baseball all the time?
No, it was hockey for a good part of my life. I played hockey for about 9 years, and played soccer in the summer. So baseball is pretty new to me. I started playing when I was about 11 years old. So
Wow. So what was it about the game that made you go, hey, this is kind of fun?
Man, just being outside, throwing, hitting. It's kind of just something new, and I just enjoyed it a lot.
Do you remember that moment where it kind of flipped for you, where it went, okay, I'm a pretty good ball player and I'm having fun too. Maybe I'm a good ball player and I got a future possibly here.
Yeah, definitely. I would say, during my time with AHP, there was really the turning point for my career, I guess you could say. Obviously putting on a ton of weight and just learning how to really play baseball just kind of set me up for where I am now, for sure.
Very cool. Speaking of AHP, what's that program meant to you in your development? Not just as a ball player, but you hear from a lot of guys, it affects you as a human being as well.
Yeah, definitely. That place completely changed my entire life. I could talk for hours about all the really amazing things they've done for me. So to say, that place has been everything is honestly an understatement. So,
is Taylor Burns really a mad scientist?
Yeah, I would have to say so. I've heard a lot of guys say, a lot of similar things, and it's really interesting to see how it can really just completely change a person's career, whether it's hockey or baseball or any other sport.
Mm-hmm. What's it like rolling into the facility over a winter and seeing a major leaguer like Eric Sabrowski working out or throwing a pen?
It's pretty cool. When he's throwing or when he's lifting, you kind of just have to sit back and watch and maybe take some notes.
You mentioned off air as well that you've played catch with him as well. Is it kind of weird to think that here's a guy who you've seen work his way up? It's almost like you're starstruck, but you're not, because he is just Eric at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, exactly. You said it pretty much perfectly. Like, he's got, you see him on TV striking out Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, and then, you're playing catch with him at the facility. So it's pretty cool.
Were you guys watching the games whenever Eric was up?
Yeah, we were watching them, my roommate and I.
How much of an inspiration is he for you, especially being a pitcher?
Oh, it's big time. Yeah, he, I think we've had at this point pretty similar careers. Being from Alberta and coming down to the Jayhawk, and obviously working with Taylor to completely change our careers. He's definitely someone I look up to a lot.
Mm-hmm. Looking back on the young career to this point, changing gears a little bit, what's maybe your favorite memory on the ball diamond, or that moment where you had to take that step back and go, man, I can't believe I get to do this?
Yeah, I think the coolest thing is probably winning provincials with Parkland a couple of years ago. It was pretty surreal.
What was it about it that made it so special in your eyes?
I think with it being, my senior year, the last time I'd ever put on a Parkland jersey, and, being champions, it just made it that much more special.
Mm-hmm. On the flip side of that, everybody knows that baseball's a game of failures. So looking back on it, what's been the biggest challenge or hurdle you've had to overcome?
I would probably have to say my elbow injury a few years back. I had a UCL strain, and I was out for a good chunk, probably about 8 months. But yeah, I worked with Taylor. He helped me build it back up, but that was definitely the biggest obstacle for sure.
When you're going through an injury, and you're doing that right now as well with Pratt, what's the thing that you lean on? Do you lean on people? Do you lean on a mindset? What is it that helps you get through some of those tough times when you sit there and maybe question yourself a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. The thing I look to the most is where I want to be in a few years from now. I've come all this way. I'm not going to let a little injury stop me from continuing on pursuing my dreams. So,
mm-hmm. A few fun ones before we let you go here, Ryan. First off, what's your favorite ballpark food when you're there as a fan?
I feel like it's a basic answer, but I gotta go with the ballpark hot dog.
Do you have toppings in mind?
I'm just a plain ketchup guy.
Okay. Usually it's very, very split, I feel. It's either mustard or ketchup. The odd time you'll get both. I'm a both kind of guy. So it's interesting how it can be a very divisive point of concern there. So next up, what's your favorite baseball movie?
Favorite baseball movie? One that's always I watched a lot as a kid was Benchwarmers. That movie was pretty funny, and obviously you have the iconic sword quote from it now, which is blowing up. So I'll go with Benchwarmers.
I like that one as well. And finally, whose poster was up on your wall baseball-wise as a kid?
Man, I didn't have many baseball posters, but I always had a Sidney Crosby poster.
That's a pretty good one. Was it the Golden Goal one, or is it a Penguins one?
It was the Penguins one. I think it was the Outdoor Classic one when they wore those baby blues.
Those are really nice jerseys. I know like Penguins, you think black and yellow, but you know what? The baby blues are pretty nice.
They're a good mix.
Absolutely. A couple of final ones that we have here on the show here, Ryan. They're the standard ones. Looking back on the career to this point, and you get a chance now to go back to AHP or talking to those young kids who are just starting out on their baseball journeys, and they want to get to where you're at now. What kinds of advice or words of wisdom do you want to impart upon them?
I think just being consistent is always a really big key to success, and showing up every day and just trying to do something at least. With AHP, it was 6 days a week, and the workload wasn't crazy day to day, but because it was you had one day off, you really built up a lot of strengths in that time.
Mm-hmm. The final one, what's the game of baseball mean to you?
I hate to say the basic answer of it's everything, but I mean, it is everything to me. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for baseball. Wouldn't get to do all these really cool things and meet all these really amazing people. So I hate to say it's everything to me, but it really is everything to me.
Well, it's been fantastic getting to know a little bit about your journey here, Ryan. Really appreciate the time. Congrats on all the success to this point. Continued success going forward at Pratt and beyond. And again, thanks so much for joining us here on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Next up is Weber Academy grad Kai Rempel. The Calgary native has become a fixture for the Cloud County Community College pitching staff, posting 15 strikeouts and 16-plus innings of work over 5 appearances. He also picked up his first college win March 1st over Weatherford. The 6'3" right-hander is also excited to come back home this summer to rejoin the Sylvan Lake Gulls. Kai, thanks so much for joining us here on the show.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Fresh off your first win with Cloud, how nice was that one to get under your belt?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I had to give credit to my defense, a ton of balls in play, and they made all the plays for me. And the offense was great, putting up a ton of run support and, bunch of pitchers behind me that got it done and, held the line and just held on.
Mm-hmm. You're a few appearances into your college career now. How are you feeling after the first few?
I feel good. At the start, my first outing wasn't what I wanted. Gave up 3 runs to Kansas Wesleyan. Wasn't a great outing for me. Kind of left a couple of fastballs up in the zone, and they got hit around a little bit. But had a good bounce back, and slowly learning what works in this league. It's a different coming from a wood bat to a metal bat league. So there's a little adjustment. A couple hits here should have been outs, back home, but that's a whole part of the game.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you mentioned the word adjustment, because I was going to ask how much of an adjustment or how much have you had to change especially going from high school to college ball?
Yeah, I think the work with the secondary pitches has been big for me, all through high school. You could, if you fell behind an account, you could usually put a fastball somewhere down the middle and, hopefully get a swing and miss and, blow it by some of those hitters. But once you get here, it's a 2-0 count. You got to make pitches. You can't just put one down the pipe and just hope it hope it finds a glove. You got to, use your off speeds and hitters counts and, try and get back and even it up.
Mm-hmm. Has that transition to the college game been what you expected, especially as a freshman?
Yeah. I mean, I went to Gulls, kind of in the hopes of facing college hitters before getting to college. And, that was a big adjustment for me. And, the expectations are pretty similar. The hitters I face in the Wimble over the summer are pretty similar to the hitters I face here. Now there's a couple differences, but you're going to see that anywhere. But, the whole part of the Gulls was just to get kind of that, exposure of college hitters.
Mm-hmm. And we'll get to coming back to Sylvan in just a couple of minutes here. When thinking about going to school and weighing your choices, obviously Cloud's one that they always have had a lot of Canadians on that roster, and you've got a few again this year. Did that make that transition a little bit easier knowing that you had a few countrymen beside you?
Yeah, I mean, Lucas Laukkanen was another guy who came from Weber, and he was going to Cloud. And, I kind of knew I was a ground ball pitcher, and I could trust him up the middle. And, I kind of knew a couple of the guys coming here at Cloud. Their track record has been an unbelievable JUCO. Eric Gillian has been, one of the best JUCO coaches in my opinion. So it was pretty easy choice. I was, as soon as they came in contact with me, I was like, this is the school I want to go to.
Very cool. Now, heading into this campaign, did you have any goals or expectations of yourself, especially as a freshman, and not necessarily knowing the lay of the land per se, but did you have something in mind in what you wanted to accomplish?
Not really. I kind of went in with no expectations. I was kind of, whatever happens kind of mindset, just go out there and just try and do what I can, control the controllables. And, coming here, you can kind of get sucked into your own statistics, but, the main goal for us is, winning a championship. And I didn't really have any goals. It was just, come here and, help this team win.
Mm-hmm. On the development side of things, what kinds of things are you hoping to work on over the next few weeks here and a couple of months as you keep progressing and moving your way forward?
Velocity has always been a big thing. I mean, it's kind of a big focus of college baseball. Just kind of getting stronger, more physical, being able to throw the ball harder, that'll always help even at those higher levels. And I'm also trying to develop a slider. That's been my biggest focus coming here. I kind of had one at my high school at Weber, but it wasn't as good as I wanted. It kind of, turned into a cement mixer sometimes. So I'm trying to have another secondary pitch I can throw in long ABs.
You mentioned the team side of things, and I know that's a big point of interest for you guys is winning a championship. What do you think you guys got to do in the next few weeks and months here to get yourself to a point where you're raising the championship belt at the end?
I think it's a matter of consistency. I think we've got all the tools we need. We've got great pitching depth. We've got a great offense. We have a great defense. We've got all the tools. I just think, the consistency part. One day we're beating the number one team, and then the next day we're no one can touch a fastball at 85. I think that consistency will probably help us raise that banner. But honestly, clean up the little things as well. Just maybe listening to coach in certain situations and stuff like that, and just being more mature.
Mm-hmm. Let's get into your baseball past here a little bit, Kai. You're originally from Calgary. How did you get into the game in the first place?
Well, my dad signed me up for Little League baseball, and being a little kid, I didn't really know. I was happy to try anything at that point in life, and he signed me up for Little League baseball. I tried every sport, but hockey and baseball always really stuck. Played Little League ball all the way up till I was 12, 13 years old. Decided to make the transition to club ball. Went to Junior Dinos at the time, which is now the Calgary Bucks. Went there for a couple of years, and then there was a new development of the Weber Wildcats, and Lucas Weber Kitchen, his grandfather was opening up this baseball program, and I saw a lot of my buddies transition transitioned to this program, and me and my parents made that decision to go over there, and I met Chris Rietzma and Cole Armstrong and Jeff Peach, and they really sparked my development and got me here.
Was it a bit tough, given that everybody kind of knows Alberta and Canada as a whole is more hockey oriented? Like you said, it was that choice between hockey and baseball. Was it a tough decision in your eyes, or was it like, nah, I know where my potential lies?
I kind of knew. There's a lot of kids leapfrogging me in hockey, and it was kind of just like a fun thing to do with my buddies. But I kind of knew baseball was my thing. I was always a good pitcher. The hitting was not where you like it to be, to try and be a two-way, but I always kind of knew that baseball is going to be my calling.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned Weber. What has that program meant to you in your development, not just as a ball player, but also as a human being?
It means the world, to be honest. I went in there with no expectations, just a kid, not even a thought about college baseball. I think I got there throwing 75, and then that got over that winter. They showed me to the weight room for the first time. They did some mechanical work, a lot of long days with Chris Rietzma, just, with the Rap Soto, just trying to figure out, how to be a better pitcher. And, those were probably some of the best years of my life. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. And, it was a huge risk, but it paid off in the end. I made a ton of lifelong friends there, friends I even keep up with today. And, it got me where I need to be right here.
Mm-hmm. How cool is it to have a guy like Rietzma showing the way? Because, this is a guy who went to the show. He's done a few things in his career, and now he's imparting that wisdom on yourself and your friends and all these Weber Wildcats.
Yeah, it's incredible. He's just a different type of coach. I've had multiple pitching coaches in my life, and none compared to him. He was a guy who was big on teaching yourself to learn your own mechanics. He was always there for those little changes and stuff like that, but he was big on you learning your body. Maybe when you're in the mound, you're 97 pitches deep in a game and you've got a tough AB here and you're kind of all over the zone, having little cues that he'll teach you to help you get back in the zone and make pitches. And, he was so good at explaining things. I've probably never had to ask twice what he was saying, because, he made it clear. He made it simple. He wasn't trying to overload your brain with anything. It was just, go out there, compete, and then, he'll come out for a mound visit and he'll be like, hey, you're doing great. Just, keep that confidence and, keep going after guys, keep attacking.
How weird is it walking into Weber, knowing full well that there's a pro pitcher by the name of Michael Soroka who's likely in there in his off season working out with Chris?
It's definitely different. He's always blasting heavy metal rock upstairs, so you can kind of tell when he's up there in the weight room getting his work done. But, Chris is always good with, getting the pitchers and, surrounding Soroka, kind of watching what he does, watching his mechanics, explaining why he's doing certain things. And, Mike has always been a great guy. I've had countless conversations with him. He's always, well-spoken. He always spends time with the guys at Weber, even for a short conversation, even to say hi, he's always good about that. And, he's always open to questions and stuff like that. So, first time meeting him, I was pretty scared. I was like, oh my goodness, that is, that's Mike Soroka. But after you get to know him, you can kind of tell that, he's a nice guy and he loves just, talking about the game.
That's fantastic. Now, you mentioned the Gulls and having the opportunity to be a part of that record-setting team last summer. What did that do for your confidence, looking back on it, knowing that, hey, I can throw at this level?
Yeah, it definitely sparked it for sure. Just kind of getting that reassurance that, I'm good enough to play at this level. I don't have to be scared and throw my breaking balls. I think my first outing, I threw way too many fastballs, high in the zone. And, the good team the Dawgs are, they hit it around and, they put up a big number against me. And I kind of found out, working with Matt Haith and Chatwood, just kind of figuring out, what can I do to have success in the league, and, started stacking up good outings on top of good outings. And once those were kind of flowing, it was like, okay, you know what? Let's keep this rolling. Let's keep doing what I'm doing, living down in the zone, using my secondary pitches in hitters counts, and ended up working and being able to be a contributor for that Gulls team.
Very cool. Obviously, you're one of the first recruits announced by the Gulls in the last week or two here. How excited are you to head back to the nest this summer?
Oh, I'm so excited. Chatty was texting me and saying we're going to have an even better team this year, and I believe him. We've got a couple guys from Cloud also going back, and there's some studs and some new faces. And yeah, I think we have a great chance to win the championship this year.
We've talked a lot about the highs and the highlights of your young journey to this point, but I'd be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about some of the challenges. And obviously, baseball is a game of failure. So what's maybe been that biggest challenge or hurdle you've had to overcome?
It had to be in my junior Dinos career. I was competing for a spot with a bunch of my buddies. We were trying to compete for that top team. And at this time, I was kind of there for just to hang out with friends, have some laughs and giggles. And, playing baseball was more of a fun time than an actual sport for me. And during that time, there was tryouts, and I was trying to go as a two-way at this point, and which was probably not the best decision, but it is what it is. And I got cut from that team, and it was heartbreaking for sure. But then I was in the car with my dad, and I'm not feeling too hot. I gotta play with the new team, but he said use this as fuel, use this as motivation for next year. Hit that gym, go get some pitching lessons and stuff like that. Just kind of fuel you and make you a better player and take it more seriously. So I ended up doing that, and I kind of took off from there.
Yeah, it's absolutely worked out for you. A couple of fun ones here before we let you go, Kai. First off, what's your go-to food at the ballpark when you're there as a fan?
Ooh, I'd have to go a hot dog. I mean, the classic hot dog has always been a solid choice. Can't go wrong with that.
What do you usually get for toppings?
I'm a plain ketchup guy. Just a hot dog and ketchup. That's it. I don't like to put too many flavors on it. Don't try and ruin it.
That's fair. I know that ketchup and mustard can be a very, very controversial topic of conversation, so I won't go further on that one. What's your favorite baseball movie?
Baseball movie? Sandlot for sure. That was probably the first one I watched. It's always, I'd also say 42, the Jackie Robinson one. That was also another one. I'd say those two are probably my
two stellar ones indeed. And finally, who's the best teammate you've ever had in all time?
Best teammate? I have to say Matt McDonald. Honestly, I know he was my catcher, so that's probably a little bit biased. But he always kind of knew what to do with me. When I was struggling, on the mound, he would have a mound visit and he would talk about something else to just distract me from what's going on. Or, he kind of saw that I was rolling and he'd start firing the ball back to kind of, keep me going. But he was always a great guy, funny, always was there for a good laugh and always there for a good time.
That's awesome. Couple final ones for you before we let you go. They're kind of standard across the board here. First off, let's say you're back at Weber or you're in Sylvan and you get those kids coming up to you. They're asking for autographs and maybe some advice on how to get to where you're at now. What are you wanting to impart upon them? What do you usually say to them?
I say hit the weight room early. That was my biggest regret. Who knows where I'd be if I did take the weight room seriously earlier. But I still think, hitting the weight room at an early age is still a good thing. Always being strong, strength goes a long way in college baseball. It separates the guys from the men, and really, focusing in the weight room. Like I see a bunch of guys, strolling on their phones in between sets and stuff like that. Get after it, get a little sweat going, get those muscles pumping, all that sort of stuff.
It's great stuff. And the final one, what does the game of baseball mean to you?
It meant relationships that I probably wouldn't have without it. I wouldn't meet a guy like Matt McDonald or some of my teammates here, some friends that I'll probably have for my lifetime, because of baseball. So I'd say, meeting new people and, meeting people that I'll remember for the rest of my life.
And we've been grateful to get the chance to meet you a little bit and get to know more about your baseball journey, Kai. Congrats on all the success you've had at this point. Continued success at Cloud and Sylvan Lake and beyond. And again, thanks so much for joining us here on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
And finally, it didn't take long for Leo Griffin to rewrite the history books at Hutchinson Community College. The Dawgs Academy product had 4 stolen bases against Rose State February 15th for the third most swipes in a single game in school history. The 6'2", 190-pound outfielder also has a baseball pedigree, as his dad Mark was a minor leaguer with the Dodgers and Expos before turning to broadcasting, while his brother Hank is also a Dawgs alum as the family moved to Okotoks a few years ago. Leo, thanks so much for joining us here on the show.
Yeah, thank you.
Off to a flying start, and quite literally, the numbers kind of speak for themselves, so I won't get into that, but I am wondering, how are you feeling about the season so far?
I mean, I'm feeling great. It's the group of guys just it's been a blast. We've all helped each other, especially big group of freshmen this year, so I think we're all learning at the same pace, and I think we're pushing each other in great ways, and that's just, I think, a lot of success has come through that.
I'm always curious, especially for the freshmen. It's your first real chance of getting away from home and doing that kind of thing. I know you're not new to that, and we'll get into the Quebec to Okotoks thing in a second, but how has that transition been for you going from high school to college?
I mean, like I said, I think the Okotoks Dawgs did a great job, preparing me for this transition, and I think in terms of leadership, in terms of confidence, I think this switch has been pretty good so far, and I think it's helped me be motivated every day and just keep that grind mentality.
The eye-popping number for a lot of people around here has been the stolen base total. As we record this, you've got 11 on the campaign so far. What's been your secret to success on the base paths particularly?
I mean, it's just like in my how I see it is really, it's part of the game a lot of people don't take advantage of, and I think when you have that speed and that confidence on the base path, I think it changes a lot of baseball players, and I just think seeing the game differently it has helped me just being able to steal bases and stuff. It's just such a beautiful thing to do that people don't recognize it. And I mean, I just take advantage of that every day, and I really preach on that. And I think the Blue Dragons have really preached that stolen base mentality, and I think we're going to keep on doing a great job so far. So.
And you've done a great job so far. How cool is it to know that your name's going to go in the record books with that 4-bag stolen base total back on February 15th?
I mean, it feels amazing for sure. I didn't even know about it since until I saw the post. But I just keep doing myself, and I'm gonna keep playing the game how I've always played it. So
very cool. Take us into the art of the stolen base through your eyes, because I talk to different guys and some go, hey, it's all about timing, and hey, sometimes it's about my gut feeling. For you, what is it that allows you to see that opportunity and seize it in the moment?
I mean, like I said earlier, I think it's just my confidence of not being afraid or not being that guessing mentality. When I'm on the bases, I just feel confident that I can swipe it back. Either it's a delay steal, or it's a ball in the dirt, or it's getting that little hop before the pitcher throws. I just think as a good base runner, you got to be confident, not guess. You got to really trust your instincts, and I think that's what really has been helping me so far.
Is there a number that you'd like to hit by the end of the season? Would you like to break a record here or there? Or are you just kind of taking it a day at a time and willing to take whatever that number is at the end of the year?
I mean, I'm willing to, for sure I have a number in mind. I would love to hit 50 stolen bases, but at the same time, I don't really think about it, because when I'm on the field, I'm not like trying to steal. Like I'm not telling myself, oh, I want to steal 3 bases today. It just really like when I'm in the bases, that's all I think about, and like I really try to focus on in the moment, kind of thing.
Absolutely. Aside from the base stealing side of things, what kinds of things are you hoping to work on over the course of the next few weeks and couple of months here as the college season progresses?
I mean, just seeing better pitches this year too has allowed me to kind of like change my swing in a way that less movement, less complicated will definitely help you. And I think bunting is also a big part of my game, which I really try to get better on and try to take more advantage of, because I think bunting in some ways is not looked at by a lot of schools, and I think those who can bunt should really, really, push to be good bunters, because it is really a valuable tool to have.
It's a lost art form, absolutely. A lot of guys obviously talk about the team success side of things too. You're doing fairly well so far with the Blue Dragons. Give us your scouting report and your feeling about how the team's progressing and the hopes for this season as far as, taking home some championships maybe down the line here.
I mean, yeah, I feel great about the group of guys we have. I try to, even though I'm a freshman, I really try to be a leader in this team, because we're a lot of younger guys, but we're a lot of talented guys, and sometimes we sometimes get away from each other. We try to be like push that own like personal success, but once we really focus on team success and like just play our game the right way, that's really where we shine, and we can definitely be a dangerous team this year for sure.
Sure looks like it. Let's get into your baseball past here a little bit, Leo. You're originally from Boucherville, Quebec. Take us through your backstory. How'd you get into baseball in the first place?
I mean, I grew up playing baseball. My dad was always put that baseball in my life, and I just quickly fell in love. My dad, as you might know, he was a former professional baseball player, and I just fell in love so quickly with it, especially playing with friends and my brother. I just love the game, and then I mean, it's been a blast since then. Growing up, I didn't think about the future with baseball so much. I just focused on enjoying it, and then I mean, I transitioned to the Okotoks Dawgs, which was probably one of the good decisions I've made so far.
Absolutely. We'll get to that in a second. When you were growing up, was it all sports all the time for you, or was it all baseball all the time?
No, I mean, I grew up playing hockey and baseball, and I also skied a little bit. But yeah, I mean, hockey and baseball were pretty much the sports I grew up playing and that I enjoyed playing. Especially with my having 2 brothers, that definitely helped me build up that competitive mindset. So. Sure.
Absolutely. So, do you remember that moment where it turned for you, where you went, okay, baseball's all fun and games, but man, like maybe I got a future in this thing?
I mean, I'll always remember my brother, actually, my older brother was at Dawgs before I went. And I remember I was sitting back in my room in Quebec, and I felt like, I mean, a piece of me wasn't fulfilled, and I was like, I really wanted to go, like, follow my brother's path and stuff, and I just think that's where the flip switch, where I was like, I mean, that's what I want to do. I want to focus on baseball. I want to go to the Dawgs because this looks like a great program, and that's kind of where it really switched for me.
What has that program meant to you? Not just as a ball player with Dawgs, but as a human being. I talk to a lot of guys who are just like, man, that changed my outlook on the sport. That changed my outlook on how I can play the game. How did it change you?
I mean, I think it's changed me in so many different ways. It's changed me as a teammate, a leader, as a human being, as a brother. I think it's changed me in a lot of ways that definitely have brought me to where I am today. But I'm so thankful for what they've done, how they brought me to what player I am today. And yeah, I mean, people might think it's all like you need to be a certain person to go to Dawgs, but nah, they really value each individual, and I was really thankful for that because that's how I started to feel comfortable with them. So yeah.
For sure. Looking back on the young career to this point, do you have a favorite memory or moment that stands out where you just had to take that step back and go, man, this is so cool?
I mean, it's gonna sound weird because I'm not a pitcher anymore, but I remember my 15th year. We had a little tournament going on, and the game kept getting delayed and delayed, and we started playing that game at 10 p.m. and I was the starting pitcher, and I ended up throwing a no-hitter that game, so that was a pretty memorable moment for me.
That is amazing. So what made you switch? Because, I mean, when you have that kind of success on the hill, I have to assume that you kind of want to go on that, but here you are making it as a position player.
Yeah, I mean, my first year actually at Dawgs, I mostly pitched, and I actually loved pitching, and I didn't have that many at-bats that year, and after that winter, I started hitting pretty good. Pitching was, I still pitched quite a bit. I just didn't really had to get the results I wanted, and then I just fell in love with hitting, and of course that speed I had to take advantage of. So yeah, I mean, I fell in love with hitting. I went to every early hitting morning, and just really took advantage of it, and I'm happy I didn't make that decision. So
It sounds like baseball's really come, I'll call it easy, but I know it never really is. And I ask this question all the time of athletes is we talk about the good stuff, but obviously baseball is a game of failure. So walk us through those moments or that big obstacle that you had to overcome that you're super proud of for yourself for being able to get over it.
I mean, yeah, it's you got to be mentally tough. Like my dad always says, baseball is 99% mental, 1% physical, and I truly agree with him because when you play your best is when you feel the best, when you don't think about any outside forces or any other thing. And it's like I wanted people to know that if you don't think about those things and you enjoy the game, it'll change. Like you'll be the player you've always wanted to be, and you'll play the game with pride. And once people get stuck in their mind and like overthink it and stuff, and that's when they start failing. And a big thing too is fear of failure. That's been a big thing in my life where I've been scared of failing in front of a lot of people. And this year for sure, I think I've overcome that, and that's why I think the true success is coming out of me, and I'm really thankful for that.
It's definitely worked out for you. A few fun ones here for you, Leo. First off, when you're at the ballpark as a fan, what's your go-to food?
Ooh, I mean, it depends where we are, but in Canada, I'm probably gonna say poutine.
Fair. Are you a standard gravy, cheese curds, fries kind of guy, or are you a guy like me who likes to make it odd sometimes? In pierogies, for example, I've heard waffles can come in handy. Do you have a go-to, or you're like standard?
I'm a big standard guy. I mean, growing up in Quebec, it's always been standard for me. I don't like to change the recipe or anything. I really like it standard.
Absolutely. When you're back home and your parents are like, you have your choice of whatever you want to eat, what are you asking them to make for you?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, there's a lot of things they make that's pretty good, but my dad makes a great lasagna. And I think when I came back for Christmas break, he probably made it over 6 times. So I'm really happy he did that.
Man, that's definitely a new one. I've never heard of 6 times over a Christmas break, but that's fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
That is awesome.
Oh, yeah.
What's your favorite baseball movie?
Favorite baseball movie? Great question also. Field of Dreams is a great one. Great one.
Super solid. Absolutely. And finally, for the fun ones anyways, life or baseball, who do you look up to the most?
I really look up to my brother and my dad. They've always supported me. I mean, my family in general, they're pretty much, I idolize all of them, and I'm really thankful for what they've showed me in life, and what they've like taught me, and I'll always idolize their confidence and all they've done for me. So that's truly my real idols.
Fantastic stuff. Two more for you before we let you go. First off, we ask these of all the athletes here. Let's say you're back at Dawgs or you're out playing in front of the Hutchinson crowd and you got those young kids who are coming up to you. They want an autograph. They're also maybe looking for a piece of advice or some words of wisdom to get to where you're at now. What are you wanting to impart upon them? What do you want them to learn from your journey?
I just want them to enjoy the game as much as possible, because when you get older and baseball becomes a big part of your life, you really, sometimes you fall into this kind of baseball being a chore and being, like getting hard on your life, and you start getting hard on yourself, and you kind of, sometimes you might start losing this love for the game. And I truly want to say that, these kids, you gotta keep enjoying the game. You gotta keep having fun. You gotta keep creating good memories, because that's what truly it's all about. That's when you hit those hard times. That's when you look back at these times and you're like, I really love that game, and that's really what it's all about, I think.
Absolutely. The final one, and it's a great segue, because the last one we always ask everybody: what does the game of baseball mean to you?
I mean, the game of baseball is just such a big thing, and I'll always remember, like, that my dad always says that home plate with baseball, it's like a home, and it's shaped like a home, and it's just, if you're happy on the field, if you love what you're doing with your teammates, it's such a big part of your life. And I truly admire the sport in every way. I truly admire how it hasn't really changed since the beginning of it. And I love the game.
We've loved getting a chance to learn more about your journey, Leo. Congrats on all the success you've had to this point in your young career. Continued success at Hutchinson and beyond. And again, thanks so much for joining us here on the show.
Thank you very much.
Thanks again to Ryan Kwasnycia, Kai Rempel, and Leo Griffin for joining us this week, and thanks to all of you for downloading and listening. If you like this or any other episode of the show, make sure to leave us a rating and a review on your preferred podcast app. Make sure to hit the subscribe button as well, as new episodes drop every Thursday, and we like to add special editions every so often as well. Next week, we will have our annual CCBC season preview extravaganza, so stay tuned for that. As always, a tip of the cap to our platinum supporters, the Okotoks Dawgs, Under the Lights Sports and Entertainment, and the Western Canadian Baseball League for their generosity in helping us tell the game stories in our province. For more on our tremendous teammates or to join our roster, head to albertadugoutstories.com/supporters. Until next time, thank you for all of your support online, on social, and on air of Alberta Dugout Stories.